What's up, fight fans, and welcome to MMA Fighting's UFC on Fox 26 preview show. I am your host, Danny Segura. Joining me to the screen next to me is Jed Meshew, also from MMAfighting.com. We'll be breaking down all the top storylines, all the matchups going into this fantastic card. Although this video is remote, we do have staff on site. Casey Lydon and Esther Lynn are there providing us with great content, so make sure to check that over at MMAfighting.com. So, Jed, this is a pretty good card. This is a card that sort of snuck up on us, with all the drama from UFC 217, all the great action from UFC 218. But now that it's here, fantastic card. Really happy it's happening. Do you feel the same way? Do you feel like this card sort of flew under the radar, still flying under the radar, but nonetheless a fantastic card?
Absolutely. I think it's hard not to agree with that. You mentioned it. We've been kind of dealing with some other big events. We've got another one on the horizon with the end of the year, December 31st card, Cyborg Home, the big fight coming up. And it's the holiday season, so there's a lot of other things going on, but a great fight card, one I'm really interested in, really excited to watch.
Yeah, very good card. I'd like to describe it as perhaps, when you clean your room and you find a little bit of money or find a $20 bill in your pocket. Super unexpected, flew under the radar, but now that it's here, very, very happy that it's going down. All right, so let's talk about the main event of the card. This card is being headlined by Robbie Lawler, former UFC welterweight champ, going against former UFC lightweight champ Rafael dos Anjos, who's been quite on a run at welterweight. He's been doing quite well. Probably now taking on the biggest fight of his welterweight run against Robbie Lawler, obviously a former champ and a great fighter. Let's talk about this fight a little bit. It seems it's a pretty important fight for the welterweight division. To what extent, we don't know it. We're not really sure who gets a title shot and who doesn't in this era of the UFC. But what are your thoughts on this fight? Do you think the winner here could get a crack at Tyron Woodley and fight for the belt?
I think the winner could get a crack, and deservedly so. I suspicion that won't happen. As Tyron Woodley recently said, I believe on UFC Tonight this week, that he is opting for shoulder surgery. He's going to be on the sidelines for a little bit. My best guess here is that the winner goes on and faces either a Darren Till, who showed out earlier this year, or maybe the winner of one of these undercard fights here, the Mike Perry Santiago Ponce. That guy might get plugged in there for a title eliminator bout, or everyone's favorite new heel, Colby Covington. Maybe he takes on the winner of this for the next shot at Tyron with his welterweight title.
I heard that's your favorite fighter, Jed.
He's everyone's favorite fighter.
All right, so again, this is a pretty good fight. Stylistically, it's a fairly complicated fight. Rafael dos Anjos has really good wrestling, but Robbie Lawler has a great takedown defense. Robbie Lawler is a great striker, but so is Rafael dos Anjos. How do you see this fight going, and who would be your pick in this one?
I got to say, I'm hearing a lot of sentiment that I understand, and I think it's fair and reasonable that this is a really close fight. It's tough to see what's going to happen, how it's going to go. Frankly, this is one of the fights I'm the most confident in my prediction on this card. There's a lot of underdogs on this card that I think have a good chance to win. I think Robbie Lawler, who actually is an underdog last time I checked, is going to take this and take it pretty easily here. This is not to disparage Rafael dos Anjos, a great fighter with skills in all phases. But Robbie Lawler has just been fighting guys much bigger than Rafael dos Anjos for a long time and thriving. And this is one of those situations where I think Robbie Lawler could totally be upset or beaten, particularly by one of the young guys that we've been talking about, Mike Perry, Santiago Ponce, Darren Till. But Rafael dos Anjos is not bringing that kind of upward trajectory curve. He's another guy like Lawler who might have seen his best years and now be getting by more on his craft and skill than his athleticism and than his physicality. Those things might be taking a downturn. So for me, it just seems pretty straightforward here. Rafael dos Anjos can wrestle. He's not going to be able to wrestle Robbie Lawler. Johnny Hendricks, an all-American, multiple-time collegiate wrestler, had real trouble doing that. So it's going to be mostly a striking battle. And Rafael dos Anjos likes to pressure. He has that King's MMA style. He rockets kicks in at your body and puts you up against the cage. I think against Robbie Lawler, that's just a dangerous proposition. It puts you in range to get hit with Lawler's big shots. I suspect this fight's going to look a lot like Rafael dos Anjos versus Eddie Alvarez, maybe even a little bit quicker, because I think Robbie Lawler's got a little more skill and a lot more power than Eddie Alvarez in the boxing game.
For sure. It's still a very, very interesting fight. I'd have to perhaps disagree with you a little bit. Again, a very tough fight to pick. I'm on the fence on this one, but going back and forth, I think Rafael dos Anjos might be able to pull it off, but we'll see how it plays out. Let's touch now a little bit on the co-main event. Perhaps not the co-main event on many people's eyes, but nonetheless, still a great featherweight fight. That is Ricardo Lamas versus Josh Emmett. Let's remember Ricardo Lamas was originally scheduled to fight Jose Aldo in this fight, which could have been a title eliminator bout. But Jose Aldo replaced an injured Frankie Edgar at UFC 218, fought Max Holloway, and now Ricardo Lamas is getting Josh Emmett as a late replacement. Was this the right move? Do you like Josh Emmett stepping up and taking on Ricardo Lamas, or do you think perhaps the UFC could have perhaps pulled another featherweight up there to fill in that slot?
I can't speak to who else they could have gotten in here. I think Josh Emmett's a perfectly fine, suitable guy to jump in here, particularly on the short notice. They had to shuffle the deck a lot here. I don't love the move in some spots, but mainly because, frankly, I sort of would have preferred it if Ricardo Lamas had gotten the second shot at Max Holloway, since we had just seen the Aldo Holloway fight. Yeah, I think that, I don't like doing immediate rematches almost ever in general, so I know that maybe that's not the most popular opinion, but I did feel like maybe just let Ricardo Lamas get a second crack at it. Let Jose Aldo get winning again, feeling confident. But at the same time, if your other option is then, okay, we do that, but Jose Aldo has to fight Josh Emmett, I can see why the UFC wouldn't be interested in having Jose Aldo fight a relative no-name in Josh Emmett. Granted, a guy who comes from a camp that Aldo has a history with, Team Alpha Male. But, I think that it's fine how everything shook out. I think Josh Emmett is going to present some interesting challenges to Ricardo Lamas here. He's getting a little bit of short shrift, particularly with the weight discrepancy issue coming on. But it's still a fight I'm intrigued about, so that's good.
Again, Jose Aldo just fought for the title, but if you would have fought Lamas, again, that could have been a title eliminator bout, considering that Lamas is now on a bit of a streak. Do you think Lamas, if he gets a W here and perhaps gets on the mic and calls out the champ, do you think maybe he can get in line, maybe behind Frankie Edgar and get a spot next?
I don't think so. I think you're absolutely correct. If he beats the Jose Aldo Lamas fight, that was a clear-cut title eliminator fight in my mind. So Lamas getting short shrift here because he got basically a title eliminator taken away from him, which is unfortunate. But I think he's going to be in the exact same position as the main event guys are here. He could theoretically get on the mic, call out Max Holloway, and if certain things break right, maybe Frankie Edgar catches another injury, maybe he gets slotted in there. I suspicion that if he gets out here, does what he's supposed to do, he's the prohibitive favorite. So if he comes in, beats Josh Emmett, I think they just match him up against Brian Ortega. That's a clean-cut title eliminator for the next shot after Frankie Edgar.
And a fantastic fight, Brian Ortega versus Ricardo Lamas. That would be amazing. But first, obviously, he has to get through Josh Emmett, a very solid opponent, very, very solid guy. Now let's talk about what many people consider that perhaps should have been the co-main event of the Carter. Maybe the main event. That is Santiago Ponce versus Mike Perry, a very fun fight for the welterweight division. I think no one can complain about this fight. And on top of that, a very important fight for the division. Could we see a potential next star here, the winner here? Do you think the winner here could perhaps earn the spot of the next guy, of the next big thing in the welterweight division?
I think very possibly. And that's hard to say, though, because welterweight is currently maybe the most exciting division for what it's going to be in 2 years. It's got a lot of the next guy. Darren Till showed out against Donald Cerrone, seems to have the potential to be the next guy. Colby Covington has been making everyone furious. He seems to be trying to be the next guy. And the winner of this fight certainly has the potential to be that guy as well. So it's a fight with high stakes in general, and you have it. It is the people's main event of the weekend. It shouldn't be very clearly the two former champions fighting. That deserves the top billing, but this is the one that everybody's tuning in. We were talking about it earlier. If you've got family in town who aren't big into fighting, maybe they used to like boxing or something, show them this fight. This fight has the potential to be by far the most entertaining thing happening this weekend.
For sure, and it seems, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems the UFC has been really pushing Mike Perry, and they really like him. All the interviews that have come out from Mike Perry, all the videos that we've put out, it seems on social media they've been blowing up, and everybody's been sort of getting behind Mike Perry, and he's sort of becoming a little bit into a star inside of the MMA world. Was this the right matchup? Was Santiago Ponce the right guy to match him up against? Again, this is a guy that could very well be the future, a young guy, skilled, also does well in public and with the media. Do you like this matchup for Mike Perry, or perhaps do you think that the UFC should have taken probably a more conservative route and matched him up with somebody else?
I think it's a great matchup for him. I think it's going to show us a couple of things, but it's not too big a step for him in general. I think it's the right kind of way. I mean, I guess to go back and answer, you're absolutely correct. There's a momentum behind Mike Perry, not just from the UFC, but from kind of the fan base in general. Even we have this week released an animated MMA Hour segment of Mike Perry talking about seeing Darren Till out wearing short shorts in the cold in Poland. Like, he's just an engaging, charismatic guy, and I think if the UFC had their druthers, they would have him win this fight, and I think that's in part why he got this. Santiago Ponce absolutely can win this fight. He's even the favorite, but Mike Perry has a lot of tools, has a lot of opportunity to win this fight, and I think that this is a better style matchup for him than maybe a Colby Covington would be, or even a Darren Till. So I think it's good matchmaking, and either way, the winner is going to start getting a push. I suspect that the winner will be Mike Perry, though.
Okay, so give us a little quick rundown. You mentioned Mike Perry, that you think he's going to win this bout. Why do you think he'll be able to, be successful against Santiago Ponce, who's been killing it and been doing quite well in the UFC?
He has been killing it, absolutely. Santiago Ponce is a top-flight welterweight, no bones about it. I suspicion that Perry's going to get the win here, in part because I think the best way to really fight Perry is either to work takedowns effectively on him. I don't see that being a plan that Ponce really uses here, or you've got to just recreate the Alan Jabon fight. You've got to stay on the outside, be more technical. You can be more technical than him. And I think Ponce could maybe do that. I just sort of feel like he's not going to. He's going to get drawn into Mike Perry's kind of interior fight. There's going to be a lot more of just kind of wing and hammers. And Ponce has great power. Obviously, Gunnar Nelson found out about that. But if you're trading shot for shot with Mike Perry, you're probably coming out on the worst end of that deal. He's got a real good chin, and he hits very hard. And I just think that he's going to be able to force that fight and get what he wants and get the knockout at some point in the latter half of the fight, probably.
Yeah, again, Mike Perry, one of the most powerful guys at welterweight. That could very well happen. Very excited for that fight. Now let's move on to the opening fight of the main card. Remember, this is a 4-fight main card. It starts at 8 p.m. on Fox. This is a light heavyweight showdown between young blood versus old blood. We got Glover Teixeira facing Misha Sirkin, another very exciting fighter. I sort of feel like this is a very important fight for Glover Teixeira. We've seen him lose to Alexander Gustafson. We've seen him get knocked out by Anthony Johnson. Obviously, he already fought for the title. I sort of feel like this is a must-win for Glover Teixeira if he wants to remain on title contention and perhaps, have another title run within the UFC. Do you agree?
Yeah, I hadn't really considered it until you just said it right now. But I think that you're absolutely correct. I mean, Glover Teixeira is getting older. He's 38 years old. When in light heavyweight, that means a little bit less than in particularly some of the lower weight divisions, but still getting on the wrong side of the aging bell curve there. And a second loss in a row here, that probably takes him out of title elimination consideration for the rest of his career. But if he wins here, that opens up a lot of doors because we were talking about it earlier. Jonathan Bones Jones probably out for the foreseeable future with his other issues. Daniel Cormier is a champion. He's defending against Volkan Ozdemir. Most people suspect he gets the job done there, and then Gustafson likely the next in line when he comes off his shoulder surgery. But a lot of things can happen there. A win here for Teixeira, maybe Gustafson gets re-injured, maybe something happens to OSP. There's a lot of opportunity for him to slide his way into a title shot because, particularly with Cormier being the champion, they're going to want to try and find new contenders for him to face, guys he hasn't fought before. Gustafson deserves the rematch, but after that, pretty open field. So a big must-win fight for Glover Teixeira. I think you're absolutely correct.
Now, it seems that, not so long ago, everybody was talking about Misha Sirkin as the next big thing, as the guy who was going to go on and fight for the title in the UFC. Obviously, those plans got stopped, at least for now, by Volkan Ozdemir in relatively quick fashion. Are you still on that Misha Sirkin boat? Do you think he has the potential to be the next guy, the next big thing in the UFC's heavyweight division?
I still think he has a lot of potential, a lot of skills. I'm not going to take him here. I am going to pick Glover Teixeira. Basically, Glover Teixeira, he burned me once before. The Jared Cannonier fight, I came up here. I might have been with you, maybe it was with somebody else, and said, they're just at the wrong ends of the curves. Cannonier's going up and Teixeira's going down, and you ride the rocket ship going up, not the one that's crashing. And then I touched the hot stove. I got burned. I'm not going to do that again. I think Misha Sirkin has a lot of potential going forward, but Teixeira has fought much better competition, has performed admirably against much better competition, has proven that he is incredibly durable, incredibly skilled. He hits really hard. I think he's got a big advantage on the feet, and I think he can competitively grapple with Sirkinov. If Sirkinov can even get him down, I'm not sure he can, frankly. So I like Teixeira here. I won't be surprised if Sirkinov does get the win, and if he does, big feather in the cap for Sirkinov. And now Sirkinov's the guy we're talking about. Maybe he fights OSP and can slot himself into the next title shot.
We'll see who emerges on top in that fight. Again, another very important fight for the light heavyweight division. Perhaps not a title eliminator bout, nowhere close. But, the winner here could start positioning themselves, definitely in a good spot within the division. Before we go, any other fight you would like to highlight on the undercard, which is a pretty stacked undercard? There's a few picks you can get there.
Super stacked undercard. The only fight I really wanted to talk about was the Pietro Manga-Tim Elliott fight. Obviously, the weight issues have now canceled that fight, so that's a bit depressing for the rest of us. But, I mean, there's nothing in particular I want to highlight. Just want to say a great undercard. I personally am going to be picking 8 various underdogs on this card. That's how close, how competitive a lot of these fights are. Top to bottom, one of the most well-matched cards of the year, one I'm really excited for. What about you, Danny? Anything that sticks out, tickles your fancy?
I like the John Makdessi Abel Trujillo fight. I think both guys are very exciting. Both guys are very different in styles. I think that that'll probably play out on the feet for most of the fight, and I think it could be very exciting. But before we go, one last thing. What would you grade this card? From an A to F scale. What's your grade on this card on paper? Obviously.
I mean, it's not going to get an A+ like some of the marquee things that would get casual fans are, but I sort of touched on it earlier briefly. I think this is a card you can show to your family members that aren't into fighting, might be really interested in it. And for the hardcores, I think it's among the best cards you're going to get all year. Competitive fights with stakes on the line in most of them. I give it a solid A.
Yeah, I would have to agree. B+, A. Again, solid card. You can't really complain much about it. It's got a little bit of everything. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the UFC on Fox 26 preview show. Remember to check out MMAfighting.com. We've been providing great content from Winnipeg all week. So tons of interviews, face-offs. You can all find it. You can all find it all on MMAfighting.com. For Jed Meshew, I'm Danny Segura. Thanks for watching the preview show.